Hi, and welcome to another presentation from your business tutor, learning your way, anytime, anywhere. When it comes down to it, an organisation's capacity to innovate and create value is completely reliant upon the ability of its staff to do so. However, as accurate as this statement is, it hides a crucial element in achieving this, and that is the quality of the relationships that exist in an organisation. For example, if staff trust and value management and each other, and an environment of fairness and honesty exists, then relationships will have a much better chance of forming and sustaining throughout an organisation. And if that happens, as we will explore in this presentation on employee relations, a business will have a much better chance of being successful. So what are we going to learn in this presentation? Well, first of all, we're going to find out what employee relations is. After that, we're going to find out about how positive employee relations are maintained. And then we're going to explore the impact of employee relations. Okay, let's get started by asking, what is employee relations? Employee relations refers to the relationship between colleagues in a business and between staff and management within a business. In other words, employee relations is about creating a two-way process where both employees and management can express issues so that the relationship between them can either be repaired, maintained or improved. Now, although this sounds similar to industrial relations, it is important to realise that even though they are connected, there are distinct differences between them. For example, industrial relations concentrates on the basic relationship an organisation has with its staff, and that is providing good pay and conditions for all staff in return for hard work and output. Whereas employee relations looks at how the relationship can be developed in more depth so that staff don't just carry out their job, but are motivated and engaged to do so. Nevertheless, although there is a difference, it should also be remembered that there are also areas that cross into both industrial and employee relations. So with that point made, let's move on to look at how an organisation can create and maintain positive employee relations. One of the most common ways to create positive employee relations is to hold regular meetings with staff where issues of concern can be raised not just by employees but also by management as well. This is important because addressing issues early in an open and fair way means they can be sorted out before they escalate into something worse. Equally, holding meetings with individual staff can also promote positive employee relations and let specific issues which may be affecting the performance of that staff member or the team they are part of to be resolved quickly, meaning productivity isn't negatively affected. Of course, many organisations have gone further than just holding meetings and have formalised the process by introducing works councils to improve the process of consultation. How they work is that staff elect a number of colleagues to meet with managers to discuss issues, policies and decisions which affect all staff. During the meeting, both sides will express their viewpoint on the matters discussed with the aim of coming to an agreed position. As you might expect, the benefit of this is that by listening to employees' opinions and involving them in decision making, it is more likely better decisions and policy will be made. But also that staff will be far more willing to accept and buy into what was decided. More than that though, for organisations with over 50 employees, it is a legal obligation to consult with staff, meaning using a works council will meet that requirement. However, some organisations go even further and consult not only with members of staff, but also with other interested stakeholders such as the local community and customers in what is known as a consultative committee. As before, this should result in better decision making and buy-in from all parties affected by the process. Nevertheless, and this is an important point, consultation does not mean a business will do as staff or other stakeholders want. just that their opinions and views will be listened to and acted on where appropriate. In the end, the final decision still lies with management. Another way in which employee relations can be enhanced is through the introduction of a worker director. This is where staff elect an employee to represent them at board of director level when issues that affect staff are being discussed. Obviously, by having an employee at such a senior level, it means when issues are being discussed that the perspective and knowledge of staff on the shop floor will be considered. This can be really important because with the board of directors being so far removed from the shop floor, they can sometimes suggest things which are not practical or which would result in industrial action if not modified. More than that though, and this holds for works councils and consultative committees as well, by having such a big input on decisions at an early stage, it can sometimes ease the passage of unpalatable but necessary decisions such as making staff redundant. This is because if employees know that those staff they elected to represent them have fought their corner, but there was no other alternative but to lay off staff, it may mean that disruptive industrial action is avoided and an even worse deterioration in employee relations. Of course, if the issue is as severe as making staff redundant, employee relations should also involve trade union consultation and where appropriate the use of ACAS best practice procedures to ensure the matter is dealt with in not only a legal way but in a manner that minimises the impact of such a terrible situation. Another way in which an organisation tries to maintain positive employee relations is through treating all their staff fairly and with respect. This can be as simple as employees and management speaking to each other politely so that no one feels undermined, belittled or discriminated in the workplace, but also having an open door policy so that issues and concerns can be raised quickly in a supportive environment, as well as regularly acknowledging hard work and effort so that staff realise they are valued. Of course, although many organisations will also do these things naturally, most will also put in place formal company policies and procedures to ensure everyone in the organisation is treated equally and fairly. For example, a company may well have a performance review policy which ensures every member of staff receives an annual appraisal from their line manager. This can be really good for employee relations because having the chance to sit down with a member of staff and acknowledge their good work or support their improvement shows them that you value them. Equally, a company grievance policy can support positive employee relations, as it puts in place procedures that protect employees who feel they have been badly treated within the workplace by others. This helps because if the grievance investigation finds there is a problem, measures can be put in place to resolve the situation, such as providing training to the individual whose behaviour is falling below the expected standard. Alternatively, if the grievance investigation finds the situation is more serious, the organisation will follow its discipline policy, which could result in a verbal warning for a minor breach of the rules, all the way through to dismissal for a major breach. As before, this can help employee relations because having such policies in place lets all staff know their behaviour with each other must be respectful or there will be consequences. But also, it allows a business to potentially remove staff whose behaviour is so disruptive and disrespectful that it is affecting the positive culture of the business. As can be seen, there are a vast range of measures a business can use to create and maintain positive employee relations. However, to understand their value, it is important to discuss the impact of employee relations on an organisation. As we have already identified, positive employee relations can have a very beneficial impact on a business. For example, if staff feel respected, included and protected in the workplace, they will be far more committed to the organisation and work harder for it, which will increase productivity. Further still, creating an atmosphere in which all staff are valued and appreciated helps a business gain a positive image, which not only helps retain staff, but can also attract new staff and customers to the organisation. In fact, putting in place measures that foster positive employee relations not only helps prevent industrial disputes, because staff are fully consulted on matters which affect them, but also means changes which are necessary are more likely to be accepted as staff and management have worked together on their implementation. Better yet, and this is often underestimated, having policies and procedures in place and following best practice advice means that should an individual or staff dispute arise, that it is dealt with effectively and fairly, thus minimising the impact on employee relations and avoiding costly legal action. However, on the other side of the equation, if a business gets employee relations wrong, the consequences can be significant. For example, if staff feel disrespected and bullied in the workplace and nothing is done about it, it is likely that staff turnover and absenteeism will be high as employees don't want to work for the business. Worse still, if staff feel undervalued, they are likely to put in less effort, meaning productivity will fall across the organisation. Whereas, if their opinions are ignored and their concerns disregarded, it is likely that staff will be disruptive and uncooperative when an organisation wants to implement change. In fact, if employee relations are poor, the effect is an organisation that goes to war with itself and crumbles from the inside out. Minor issues escalate out of control and result in a huge number of grievance and discipline issues that are dealt with so ineffectively that expensive and disruptive industrial action results. So what did we learn in this presentation? Well, first of all, we found out what employee relations is. Then we went on to find out about how positive employee relations are maintained. And then we went on to explore the impact of employee relations. Fostering and sustaining strong relationships in an organisation is incredibly important if a business is to be successful. This is why getting employee relations right is so important. Nevertheless, as has been shown, creating and sustaining positive employee relations is not easy. However, if an organisation focuses its efforts on the principles of communication, engagement and fairness, it will have a much better chance of achieving the desired outcome.